Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? It's your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Appreciate everybody showing up today. Man, some good college basketball on Monday within the conference. Only 2 games, compelling. We're going to talk about, first of all, what deal Houston has made with some of these teams in the conference that they continuously play them without some of the top scorers on their team. Again, another game hijacked because 2 top scorers did not play in a game. It's disappointing. I understand. I mean, it's nobody's fault. It is what it is. The game wasn't as good as what it could have been. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Obviously, we'll go over the schedule for Tuesday's night's games and some of the importance there. A coach was let go or informed he was going to be let go. We're going to talk about that. And then also, I mean, we're going to cover something at the end here, so make sure you guys stick around for this. Some things that happened at the end or when the game was over between Arizona and BYU on Saturday. I'm going to address that because I think it's very, very important to talk about it. So I usually don't get too political or anything like that on these shows because that's not what this is about. But sometimes you got to stand up and say something, and I'm going to stand up and say something. So make sure you guys stick around for that. But before we get into any of that, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in those comments. Y'all were rowdy yesterday in the comments section talking about foul calls at the end. I get it. But my point of view, didn't think it was a foul. BYU fans thought it was a foul. But I love it. I love the back and forth, man. Again, as long as you keep it classy, some of you didn't, and I addressed it. But as long as you keep it classy, I have no problems disagreeing, man. I think it's fun. So either way, continue to do that and hit the notification bell. And so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So I appreciate you guys, man. Let's get into this. So first things first, let's talk about Craig Smith. Got let go from not BYU, but from Utah. I'm not sure. And look, he's been there 4 years. They haven't went to the tournament. I think last year they had their opportunity, and what did they lose? Like 8 of 12 down the stretch, and then didn't make the tournament. Went on a run in the NIT, but let's just be honest. Nobody cares about the NIT. Yeah, nobody cares, so that's that. The next thing is and don't take this the wrong way, Utah people, but I believe that BYU's success in hoops, has put some pressure on Utah. And I think it's good pressure. New conference. It's not more of a basketball conference, but the Big 12 is better in basketball than the Pac-12. Now, there's going to be some people that disagree with that. I really don't care because basically 9 of the last 11 years, the Big 12 has had the best conference in the country. That's just a fact, okay? It's not the best this year, but 9 of the last 11 years, the Big 12 has been able to state claim that they had the best conference in the country, okay? So tougher conference to compete in on a night in, night out basis. BYU seems to have done it successfully, even hiring a new coach after one coach left. They've been able to figure it out. And I think Utah is like, okay, hold on now. I think we got to figure some stuff out here. And I don't necessarily disagree. Look, I'm not a proponent of somebody losing their job, but I am a proponent of schools taking an assessment and saying we can be better. We've been better. I remember Utah used to be a good basketball school. I mean, I remember it. And I think a lot of Utah fans remember it. Now, can they get back there? I don't know, but I think they should try. And if this is their way of trying, then more power to it. And maybe I'm way off base with the BYU reference. I don't think I am. I'm going to stick to that because I believe that when your rival has success and you're not, then I believe that puts pressure on you to do something different. And I think that's what's happening here. I think Craig Smith's probably a good coach, but he didn't get it done for whatever reason. So you got to try something else. I'm a proponent. You all guys know me. It's like, and I'm not saying Craig Smith was a mistake, so I'm not saying that. But when something isn't working or if a mistake is made, the bigger mistake is living in the mistake and not making a change when you can make a change. And Utah believes, hey, man, we got to do something different here. This isn't going the way that we want. We've got to be better. We can compete in this conference if we do X, Y, and Z. We're not doing X, Y, and Z. We need to get somebody else in here to be able to do that. So, like I said, I'm never a proponent of somebody losing their job unless they, well, there is somebody, but we don't need to talk about that. But Utah, I think, is doing the right thing. They want to be better in hoops. Then by all means, go be better in hoops, man. I get this. I get the move. Last night, KU beat Colorado 71-64. Hunter Dickinson goes for 32 and 13. I think it's a game that Kansas needed. Look, you're thinking, well, what are you talking about, Big B? It's just Colorado. But Kansas has been wildly inconsistent, especially as of late. Last two road games, they got physically whipped in Utah. They needed this game. Look, they got, I guess you could say they got back on track because they blew out Oklahoma State. Then they win this game. They needed a tough road game. They got one. I just like that they got the win because this easily could have went the other way. And then you're thinking, man, Kansas has really gone down the tube. But that's not the case. You know, they got the win. So maybe they could find a little consistency down the last half of the end of the season here because it's about to be tournament time. You need to be playing consistent ball. You need to be crescendoing up. And it was Kansas was literally doing this. Well, you got to start crescendoing up. And maybe this is a way that they can do that. Maybe they just needed a reset. And sometimes teams need that, man. Basketball season is a long season. Sometimes you just need a reset. In college basketball, there's no all-star break like there is in professional basketball where you just sit back, you take a week, you don't do anything, because in pro basketball, they don't do anything. They're just off during all-star week. You don't have that in college basketball. I get it. It's not as many games, but wear and tear is still wear and tear, man. Okay? That it's just a fact. So I totally understand, but good win for KU. And then Houston beats Texas Tech 69-61 in a game, again, I said got hijacked again. This is the second Houston game in a row that's supposed to be phenomenal, and both were really good games. Iowa State game, really good game. Texas Tech, really good game. But it could have been even better. Tech, again, hijacked. Two of their best scorers, two of their top three scorers, not in. I mean, I don't know, man. And again, it's not that I don't understand, so I'm not blaming anybody, but Chance McMillan and Darian Williams did not play in the game. You see what Texas Tech shot, 30% from the field, 20% from three. Now, two things can be true. One, give Houston credit for forcing Tech into those shooting percentages, okay? Give Houston a lot of credit because Houston is going to play defense. But also, you can also say Chance McMillan is one of the best three-point shooters in the entire country. Not on his team, not in the Big 12, in the entire country. That wasn't available to them, okay? And that's what I mean. Darian Williams is a great scorer. You take two of the top three scorers off of anybody's team, how good are they going to be? And Tech fought. They did. But I don't blame Houston. I mean, Houston, they didn't tell him not to play. At least, I guess they didn't make a deal with them and say, hey, don't play, So it's two games got hijacked at the end of the year. Look, give credit to Houston, though. They went in. That was a hostile crowd, and y'all know I like hostile. That was a hostile crowd, just like it should have been. And they went in there and fought. Tech fought. Houston won, wins a share of the Big 12. They're going to go on and win this thing. Again, I don't see a collapse from Houston, so they're going to go on and win this title. Good for them. A lot of people picked them at the beginning of the year to win the title, and it looks like they're going to. I would guess Kelvin Sampson is going to win Big 12 Coach of the Year. But there may be some others out there that could be in consideration. But I would say that maybe he is the guy as of right now. So we'll see. But that was a good, again, another good basketball game that just could have been better had everybody been available. You know what I'm saying? Just could have been better. Going to tonight's schedule. Look, Baylor at Cincinnati. First of all, my my love-hate relationship with the Cincinnati Bearcats this year. Cincinnati's got to win out if they want to make the tournament. They can't finish. I don't think they can finish under 500 with their resume. I don't think they can finish under 500 in the league and make it without winning the Big 12 tournament. So they got to win out. They got an opportunity for a good, solid win over Baylor. Here's their opportunity to do that. It's at home. You want to make the tournament? Here's one of your opportunities. They got another one at Houston, which is going to be extremely tough, but it is what it is, man. You put yourself in this situation. You want to make it? You got to win out. Here's the start right here. So starts tonight. Iowa State going to Oklahoma State. Again, don't know if Iowa State's going to be with Keyshawn Gilbert or Curtis Jones. Don't know if they're going to be in the lineup tonight. One was out due to an illness. Another one was out with a muscle strain. So we're just not sure. But I will say this. If Iowa State, without them, plays the way that they played against Houston, Iowa State will be just fine in this basketball game. I'll go out on a limb and say that. If they come out and play the way that they did versus Houston, they'll be fine. Now, it's a big contrast to styles because Houston plays about as slow as anybody in the Big 12 and in the country, where Oklahoma State likes to get up and down. So maybe the difference there is, you're without two of your best scorers and just two bodies in general. Maybe the pace changes how Iowa State does. Maybe they try to slow it down a little bit, or maybe they say, you know what, we're going to get out on the run and we're just going to beat you doing that too. So who knows how Iowa State's going to play this game, or if they're two players, if those guys are going to be in the lineup. Again, it's still up in the air at this point. But I would like Iowa State. I think they can win this game regardless. And then last but not least, TCU at West Virginia. West Virginia has played themselves soundly onto the bubble, people. That's where they are at this point in time. You don't want to get on the bubble, or you want to get off the bubble, you have to win this game at home. I'll just tell you like that, because if you lose this, you look at what they have down the stretch. They got 2 games going to Utah, the next 2 games, Utah and BYU. I don't know, man. I don't know. It can get dicey. I think this is a must-win game, in my opinion. Must-win game. And again, maybe some people will say, well, look at their resume, Big B. Yeah, the committee does look at their resume, but they also look at their overall overall resume. It's not just about who you beat. It's about who is beating you. How are you playing? And I'm not sure West Virginia is playing very well right now. And that gets into the committee's mind. They're going to look, what'd you do the last 10? Okay, well, you were 3-7. Who'd you lose to? Oh, okay. Well, what did this other team do? Yeah, let's go with this other team. So it would behoove West Virginia to win this basketball game tonight, because, again, got a tough trip going to Utah the next 2 after this one. I think you got to at least split out there. And if you do, I think you'll be okay. But it starts with this game. You got to win this game. So that's what's on the slate for the Big 12 tonight. So make sure everybody's tuning into those. Now, look, I'm going to talk about this, people, and bear with me. So because I think it's important. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, I don't get, political on a show, because I'm not keep politics out of sports. I'm not that guy. I just don't find anything. There's nothing relative to talking about the Big 12 that gets into any of that. Okay. And so I just don't do that. In my personal life, I talk about it all the time when it's relative, but I don't go around screaming about it, but because I don't think that's just not my makeup. But when things need to be discussed, I discuss them. And maybe that's a better way of saying it. But what happened after the game, the chant from Arizona, and for all intents and purposes, I think it came from Arizona student section. I'm sure that wasn't the only people. But the whole F Mormons chant that you could loudly hear and people heard, and the Big 12 has to do something. Now, I'm not saying that the Big 12 has to, number one, brandish Arizona as being this horrible school, because I don't believe that. Okay. I'm not saying that it was everybody in the stands. I mainly believe it was some drunk, snot-nosed kids that were pissed off about the way the game ended, and so that's what they did. Tacky, yes. Disrespectful, yes. Other than that, the Big 12 has to say something. They have to at least make a statement. I'm not looking for them to fine Arizona. That shouldn't happen. I'm not going that far, to say that. But it did happen. And for the Big 12 to act like it didn't and say nothing, I think is pathetic, to be quite honest with you. And here's the reasons why. If your fans, after a huge win, storm the court, your school gets fined. Okay? If your fans, again, after a huge win and your team and your fans storm the field, your school gets fined. Now, they do that because it can be a safety issue. We've seen the reports, somebody getting knocked over, somebody getting punched in the face. It can get chaotic. We've seen it. We've seen fans getting players' faces. We've seen players just be running off, pushing people, punching people. It gets chaotic. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the reason that they do it. Personally, I don't mind when people storm the court or storm the field. I really don't mind. People get, oh, you should be better. Act like you've been there before. But what if you haven't? Or sometimes you let college kids be college kids, and it is what it is. Now, before anybody says, Big B, well, this was college kids being college kids, stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. And anybody that tries to defend it, I will go right back at you for as long as you want to go in the comments. You're not going to convince me that somebody saying F Mormons is a college kid being a college kid. That I went to college. That wasn't something that crossed my mind when I was in college, nor did it cross the mind of anybody that I hung out with or that's just not normal college behavior. So stop with that. For anybody that wants to come and say that, that's not the case. Is that Arizona fans in general? No, it's not. That Arizona fans, they're not like that. And maybe some people are going to say they are. I'm going to come back at you too. Okay? The point being is it should never happen because I'm a firm believer you have to nip stuff like this in the bud immediately. Because if you don't, where does it stop? You don't say anything about this and you're attacking somebody's religion. Well, what's next? You attack women? You attack a certain race? At some point, it has to just stop. And that's my whole point. Say something. I'm not asking for you to find them. Hell, think about this, what the Big 12 did. The Big 12 bent the damn knee to Texas over a damn horns down symbol. Think about that for a second. That's what the Big 12 did. They used to get a penalty in a game that could affect the game over a horns down symbol. It wasn't that you did it in anybody's face. That wasn't the case. It was just you could have been doing it to your teammates. Fined, penalty. Huh? And again, this is Tuesday. Maybe they'll come out and they'll say something. I'm recording this on Tuesday morning. So maybe they'll come out and they'll say something and okay, great. And all of this will be irrelevant. But the bottom line is it should have happened Sunday. And let's not act like it didn't happen. Arizona apologized. Well, why would they apologize if it didn't happen? What fact-finding are you doing? Arizona didn't need to do a whole lot of fact-finding. They knew it happened. They come out with the statement. It happened, period. They apologized for it. And that's all a lot of people are asking for. I'm sure there's some people that are asking for more, but that's not being realistic. But to say nothing 2 days later is ridiculous, quite frankly. And I think Arizona fans would agree. Think back, Arizona fans, back to when, and this is going way back, when they yelled that stuff about Steve Kerr's dad. Think about that. I'm just saying, Where does it stop, people? Where does it stop? Again, I don't want to get off on a tangent being political, but I don't really think this is a political thing. This is just human decency. And I'm always going to stand up for human decency. And you can have whatever feelings that you want about anything. That's the great thing about this country. But sometimes when you go, not sometimes, when you go over the line and you cross that line, somebody needs to push you back on the other side of the line. The Big 12 has an opportunity here. And again, Arizona fans, don't go off the deep end. I'm not blaming you. It's not your fault. But it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Two things can be true. Nobody's blaming Arizona fans for what some snot-nosed drunk kids were yelling. But they did yell it, and it needs to be addressed. It's simple. You address it, and okay, let's move on. But when you don't address it, and you act like it didn't happen, or that it's no, the worst is if you acting like it didn't happen, or you act like it's no big deal. That's what really bothers me, is because if you don't say anything, then it's, well, it was no big deal. Well, yeah, it's a big deal. And maybe it's not a big deal to you, but do you think it's a big deal to BYU fans, that the people that heard it and understood it? Yeah, I think it's a big deal to them. And again, where do you draw the line? Like, what's the line? If you were willing to fine people and penalize people for a damn horns down, you were willing to do that and bent the knee to Texas so bad it was embarrassing. The conference was embarrassed that that was actually a thing. And yet you can yell F Mormons and the school has to come out and apologize for it, and you can't even give them a verbal reprimand. Big 12, I'll be quite honest, should be ashamed of itself. Should be ashamed of itself. This is a new member, you know, that comes into the league. Both of them, 2 new members. BYU's been 2 years. This is Arizona's first year. Should let them know. This is not how we act. This is not how we do things. We're not going to do this. We're not going to tolerate it. You know, we know that it wasn't the majority of your fans. We know this was a small section of them. Regardless, it's not going to happen. Because if it happens again, there's going to be a big fine that you're going to have to pay. So there's that. And then if we start hitting people in the pockets, I bet things would change. Or maybe they would. I don't know. But you have to do something. That's my whole point. You got to do something. I was disappointed, number one, in it happening. Number two, I was disappointed that the Big 12 hasn't done anything. That's basically my disappointment. I'm sorry, again, to go off on a tangent on it, but I thought it was important, man. I really thought it was important because I've said it several times, and I'll say it again because this is how I personally feel. Where's the line stop? Like, if you let them do this, and I'm not talking about Arizona in general. I'm just talking about fans in general. If you allow this, what's next? We attacking women? We attacking black people, Asians, Jewish, white people? What are we doing? Some point, you got to draw a line. I thought the Big 12, they can still do it, but I thought they lost a big opportunity to just say, hold on, people, what are we doing here? No, that's not how we do things in the Big 12. Stop it. Understand it. Stop it. Shut up. They haven't done it, man. So it's unfortunate, but they still have an opportunity. They still have an opportunity. And who knows? Hell, maybe somebody sees this and they say, you know what? That stupid Big B guy, he's right. We need to just at least acknowledge that it happened and verbal reprimand and tell him no. I don't know. All right, I apologize, man. I just thought that was really, really important. I needed to get it off my chest because it's actually been bothering me since it happened. So I appreciate all of you guys for showing up like you always do, man. Thank you. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think, what you like, what you dislike. Again, we appreciate it. Big 12 is rolling. Hoop season is rolling. Got another 3 games tonight. Should be exciting. Some defining games. That West Virginia and Cincinnati game, those are going to be some deciding games on what moves forward. I'm really interested in that Cincinnati-Baylor game. Can Cincinnati figure it out? Can they figure it out? Do they want to make the tournament? So thank you guys again. Appreciate you for showing up. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.